Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're so thrilled that you've chosen to join us today for the launch of the Consumer Insights Revolution. We're here with all four authors of this brand new book, and we are so excited to celebrate with you. It will be a few moments as people are coming into the room, but we want to ask as you come in, we would love to hear where in the world you are calling in from, so we know whether we should say good morning or good afternoon or good evening. We are glad you're here no matter what time it is. Ryan happens to be on the West Coast in Seattle, where it is too early to even talk about how early it is. And a bunch of us are in New York. Some of us are in Michigan. So welcome. And we'd also love to know what organization you represent. So are you on Team Zappi today? Or are you on Team Pepsi today? Or are you calling in because you're a client or a customer of Zappi? So go ahead and give a shout out in the chat. We would love to hear from you. We are so thrilled that you are here celebrating with us. Many more are coming in. You may want to take a moment to toggle. Likely the default for you is the speaker view, where you see all four authors of the book and me on screen. But what we want to do is show the outpouring of support for these authors and this book. And so if you toggle to the gallery view, you'll be able to see all the people who are flooding into the room to celebrate with us today. And you can see the support for people who would even get up at this time on a Monday morning to be here with us. And so thank you so much. As we get started, I do want to take a couple of moments to introduce our authors. And I'm going to ask, in case you don't know the names and faces together, I'm going to ask those authors to give a wave. So first, I'm proud to introduce Steve Phillips. Steve Phillips founded Zappi in 2012 and is currently the CEO of Zappi and chair of the MRS Sustainability Council. He founded the company to digitize market research and empower brands with the voice of the consumer. So welcome, Steve. Steve, where are you today?
I'm in New York City at a hotel room, and I've got the Zoom background so you don't see my grim hotel background.
Amazing. So for those of you who don't know, Zappi also has an amazing in-person event today. Lots of excitement for the launch of this book. And so Steve is there for all the good times. Welcome also, Ryan. Ryan, give a wave. Ryan Berry is the president of Zappi. He joined the company 10 years ago as its first US-based employee, and he works with insight leaders at global brands to help them become more consumer-centric. Ryan is the guy who's up super early at Sept this morning. So Ryan, we're so thrilled that you made it. Next, we have Stefan Gans. And Stefan, can you give a wave? Stefan is the Senior Vice President, Chief Consumer Insights and Analytics Officer at PepsiCo. He is an experienced marketer at Unilever and Interbrand, and he founded a marketing consultancy, Effective Brands, before joining PepsiCo. And finally, I am thrilled to introduce Kate Shart, who's the Vice President of Global Insights and Capabilities and Partnerships at PepsiCo. And formerly from Nielsen before joining PepsiCo, Kate helps PepsiCo raise the bar of creative and brand excellence through partnerships and technology. So welcome, Kate. And of course, we don't want to play favorites today, but if you happen to have come because you have a connection personally to one of the authors, one of the things that we like to do with our virtual launch events when we're celebrating authors and their contributions to the world is to use the chat of the event as a guest book where you can express your pride in the person, express your congratulations to your author. And so we want you to feel free throughout today's event to go ahead and give a shout out to your favorite author or congratulate them in the chat. We will be sharing the chat with them later. While they may not be able to see your comments now, they will be so happy to reflect on your words of encouragement later as they pour through the chat. So the chat is wide open, and we invite you throughout today's event to go ahead and place your congratulations there. One other note, we would ask you to remain muted throughout today's event so that we can maintain the audio quality of our recording. But a little bit later, if you have a question about the book or some words of encouragement for the authors, we will have a time where you can raise your hand and have a chance to unmute your microphone. So as we dive in today, we want to hear a lot more about the Consumer Insights Revolution. And before we start a Q&A with our authors, if you happen to have the book with you, I would ask you to go ahead and hold the book up. We know that books have started to go out to our influencers. And so if you have a copy of the book, why don't you go ahead and hold it up I personally have one on the shelf back here. It looks like Steve might have one. It looks like all the authors have a copy. No, Ryan doesn't have a copy. We'll have to fix that when
Haven't
you
made it
get
to
to New York.
Seattle yet.
Yes, we'll have to fix that when you get to New York. Thanks so much for sharing the excitement. So Stefan, let's start with you this morning. I would love it if you could tell us a little bit about how the four of you happened to come together to create a book and what brought the four of you together, and how you decided that you would create this resource to share your insights with the world.
Thanks, Becky. Well, look, we got together originally because we were looking for a way to basically drive progress in the consumer insights industry, well beyond what the usual suspects in the industry were able to help us being PepsiCo with. So that's how we got together in the first place, and we found a joint ambition and complementary skills, and we decided to start working together. Years later, after we've worked together for a number of years, and we have been talking about what we've built, the platform, the tools, more importantly, actually, the impact that the platform and the tools had on our business. More and more people reached out to us from other organizations, asking us like, hey, I'd love to learn from this. And I don't think I'm actually sure I'm not exaggerating if I say that over the last, say, 2 years or so, between Kate and myself, we're both from PepsiCo, we've talked to at least 25 other organizations that came to us saying, look, we'd love to learn from the journey you've been on together with Zappi at PepsiCo. We'd love to hear from the practitioner's angle. And I forgot whether it was a coffee or a beer, but over either a coffee or a beer with Ryan and Steve, we said, look, there's so much interest in this, and the journey has actually been so let's say entertaining, but also let's say interesting for each and every one of us. Let's write it up. I think, and if I'm honest, let's say the litmus test of it for me was when the book was printed and I got the first copy a couple of weeks ago from Steve when we were both in London. I read it. It sounds odd to read your own book, but I did again from start to finish, and I thought, yeah, this would have been really helpful if I had this when I started my job. And so I think this worked out really well.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And funny that you can't remember if it was coffee or beer. That's a memorable moment. So Steve, I would love to hear from you about how you think the author's individual, unique backgrounds and perspectives contributed to how the book developed.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, when we first started talking about it and thinking about what the book would be about, it really became about how you tell the story best. And as soon as you started thinking about the story, everything from the inception to the tools, but most importantly to the change management, to the getting the ideas filtered throughout Pepsi, managing to change the way people did their work and the way they changed the way they looked at and used and consumed consumer insight. As soon as you thought through that story, it became clear against a lot of advice that we needed the four of us, because we all played different roles in that journey. Kate and Ryan were much closer to the implementation. Kate did an amazing job getting the whole of PepsiCo to take on a huge change management process. I mean, a huge transformation of the way the business works. Stefano was obviously much more involved in the upfront, persuading the senior leadership to come along with it. Ryan was helping throughout the process. So in order to tell that story, we all had different parts to play. And I think that, whilst not necessarily the easiest thing to project manage throughout, I think it worked really well, because we didn't just have sections that we knew better than the others. We also had opinions about everyone else's sections as well. So I think it really worked well, that mix of skills and expertise.
Well, I worked before with 2 author pairs, but I can't even imagine the collaboration that must have been critical to have 4 authors contribute. I don't know if any of you want to weigh in on that.
Well, I was doing a lot of the coordination, so there were easier days and harder days, I've got to admit.
Nice. So Kate, I heard Steve's high praise for you as it relates to undertaking this huge change management approach at PepsiCo. And I'm curious if readers of this book could take away just one key idea or practice from this book, what would you want that to be?
That's a great question. I guess before I jump into that, I just want to say I appreciate the praise and have a bit of humility around the fact that kind of representing a very large group of change makers within PepsiCo who really drove this implementation. So while I'm a bit of the figurehead representing that group, I just want to kind of shout out that the insights function really came together and collaborated to drive this change management, which really was a big undertaking, right? So I think what for me is most exciting about the book is hopefully that there are folks out there who are listening that can read the book and really take some practical application out of it, because I think as an overall industry, we're still relatively in the early stages of transforming our function from a bit more of a project managers, kind of helping the organizations hire specialized consultancies to do specific types of research work, kind of moving along that journey to becoming more strategic business consultants within our organizations. And now in kind of the next wave of embracing technology and emergent technologies like generative AI to really help our organizations get the consumer at the heart of the decision making, right? So how can we make smarter decisions as marketers if we're not actually hearing from the consumer, right? So leveraging technology platforms like Zappi can really help us get that learning into our organizations at a speed and at a quality that we've never really been able to historically. That also, though, means that we have to change how we do our jobs, right? So if in the past we were relying on external consultants, we now need to build those skill sets internally within ourselves and within our colleagues, right? So how do we collectively learn to do that effectively as we go forward? So we are very much on a journey. I think we've hit this great milestone collectively together with Zappi and PepsiCo, but we still have opportunities to continue to drive ourselves on this change management.
So a new perspective is needed to move forward in a different way of no longer relying on external consultants, but instead seeing the way that we can leverage technology to get more insights faster together. Thanks so much, Kate. So Ryan, on the day of a book launch, we always want to think about the job that the book is going to do in the world, the job it's going to do for PepsiCo, the job it's going to do for Zappi, the job it's going to do for the readers of the book. And I'd love to hear from you. What are your greatest hopes for this book and what it can accomplish now that it's available widely around the world for people to buy and read?
Sounds good, Becky. Just before I waffle, can everybody hear me? Because I am in spotty free Wi-Fi. All right. I would want to say something first to all my colleagues and all of the partners and customers around the world. This book, we got to tell the story, but y'all wrote it, so thank you. This is a book that I think tells a wonderful story of partnership, collaboration, and the importance of people at the center of technology. A lot of times people just think about technology as the easy solution, and I think the story of PepsiCo's transformation and others that we tell throughout the book are really designed to inspire people, whether they're big companies or small companies, with the steps and the playbooks that you can use to actually make your business a little bit more customer centric each and every single day. Our aim throughout the book, our aim throughout the process of creating the book was to make it short, accessible, and very tangible. So we hope that you find something that can inspire you, that you can bring to work, you can talk to your boss about, you can have a conversation with your stakeholders externally to make some change that enables your company to be a little bit more customer centric. The reason we all do this is because we believe customer-centric businesses make better brands, make better advertising, make better products, and ultimately improve share prices. So we hope that it delivers on that promise, and we put a lot of love into it. And as I said, we're telling the story of a lot of people's hard work. It wasn't always easy. As Steve said, when we first started our PepsiCo collaboration, if you're at the cutting edge of innovation, sometimes you're going to get hurt and sometimes you're going to bleed. And this book tells the story wonderfully, but it wasn't always rosy. So we look forward to keep pushing the boundaries. I was just with Kate in Boston 2 weeks ago, talking about the next evolution of how we can continue to up our game. So more to come.
Amazing. So authors, I don't know if anyone has anything else to add as it relates to what we really hope this book will do in the world once people have it in their hands in one way or another. Anyone else with something to add there?
Yeah, I would just say I think the great thing, the journey we've been on is to the digitization of insight, to make it much more agile, much more accessible, much more powerful. It just happens to coincide with the moment when AI is coming on stream. And the perfect way to utilize AI is when you have a structured, systematized, harmonized data asset to utilize with AI. So it wasn't in our thoughts at the beginning of the process, but it is the perfect launch pad for the new era that we're going to be in. So going through the process of digitizing and harmonizing all that data and making it a genuine data asset, I think it's the most exciting time to be in consumer insight, because if we do that, we can take advantage of all of the new technology that's coming on stream right now, which is just an amazing time. And there was recently a survey amongst marketers generally, and it had consumer insights being at the forefront of usage of AI. So more market researchers as a percentage were using AI than other people in the marketing stream. And that's because we know data and we understand data. And if we get that data in the right place, we're just at a perfect place to genuinely change, again, our corporations, their clients, the organizations we're working with, and really set the agenda for the future. So it's just an enormously exciting time.
It is such an exciting time for all of you. I totally agree. And for those of you who have joined today, we know you're here because you believe in this book, you believe in these authors, you believe in what Zappi is doing, you want to be a part of this consumer insights revolution. And so I want to take a moment now to let you know some different ways that you can help support the authors with their journey, and help us launch the book with momentum. So here's a moment about ways that you can get involved, and we would welcome in the chat any additional ideas you have for ways that you could get involved. So the book is available today. It's available for purchase on Amazon and all major online retailers. And for those of you who may live in a part of the world outside of a region where Amazon ships easily, or if you're someone who wants to have the book both on your desk and on your Kindle device, today and tomorrow, the Kindle edition is on sale around the world for 99 cents. So there's no reason not to have the book in a paperback form and an ebook form. And really the best way you can ever help an author is to buy the book, even if you've already been gifted a copy, so that you might hand it over to someone else who might benefit from the ideas in the book. You know, any revolution is something that needs to spread, and we are counting on you to help us spread the word by purchasing a copy of the book around the world today. You know, once you have read the book, the second best way that you can help us, which might actually be also the first best way, is to leave an honest review on Amazon and Goodreads, if you happen to use Goodreads. You know, that review does not need to be a book in and of itself. It can be just a few sentences of the value that you found in the book, you know, very specific about the value that you received. And that review on Amazon is going to help others who might be trying to decide if this is a book for them to find out what's valuable about it. And those reviews on Amazon are critically important. We want to see as many reviews in the first week as we can see. So if you've already had the book, had a chance to dive in, please leave your review on Amazon as soon as you are able. We would love to see online spaces, you know, full of the colorful cover of this book, and with the idea that this book is a valuable asset to marketers. So we have put in the chat a link where you can get some easy to share graphics and posts that you can copy and paste. We would also encourage you, if you happen to get a package that included the book, to take a photo with the book. Take a photo of the book and you in an interesting place. We'd like to see LinkedIn just plastered with people talking about the consumer insights revolution. And if you do that, and you can tag Zappi, if you can tag PepsiCo, if you can tag the authors, we would love to see this book blow up with social sharing everywhere. Finally, you know, maybe you have access to some other channel for marketing the book beyond social media. You have an email newsletter, you have a Substack newsletter, you have a podcast, you have some other place where you might be able to talk about and share about this book. We would welcome you to come up with any kind of creative ways to reach the right audiences for this message, and the authors would love to be invited to share on your platform. So we want to encourage you today, and even in this moment, to go out to Amazon using the links in the chat to go ahead and purchase the book. And, it's a great time to share with others. While the book is 99 cents on Kindle, this is a great time that people can get the book with such a low barrier to entry around the world. So we would encourage you to go ahead and take that action while you're here today so that we can see massive momentum. We'd love to see that bestseller banner around the world, and seeing this book be able to help those that these 4 amazing authors wrote it for. So thank you so much for joining to help support the book. At this time, I do want to introduce a special guest who wants to share with us. Christian, hopefully will be spotlighted in just a moment. We have Christian Niederauer, the Vice President of Global Insights and Consumer Affairs at Colgate-Palmolive. Christian, amazing to see you. Tell us where you are in the world and welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. So I'm Switzerland today, and that's a region where I don't have Amazon, but I was able to purchase the Kindle version, so that's all sorted. Yeah, I mean, it's an honor to talk about the book and talk about the authors, because I mean, I've been partnering with most of you, or with all of you, for a couple of years. I also got a copy of the book, and I think it's great. So let's go through all of them maybe one by one, kind of. I mean, let's start with Ryan, because he had to get up earlier, so I think it's just kind of right to start also with him. So I still remember when I first met Ryan. It was still in my previous company. I was working on the global insights transformation strategy. I had everything sorted. I had my tagline, data to insights to action, but something was missing. I was missing basically kind of a tagline for senior business stakeholders to just tell them, okay, what are we really doing on day one? And Ryan kind of delivered that tagline almost in a side note during a presentation when he summarized Zappi's early strategy with from silo to system. And I heard it and I thought, that's great. I mean, that's tangible, that's catchy, that's pragmatic. I will just use it. And I still use it until today. And that's basically almost just like almost everything Ryan does and says. You can immediately just put it on a billboard or whatever, and it's always working quite well. And then soon after I joined Colgate, who was already part of the Insights Alliance, and there with partners like PepsiCo, and PepsiCo taking a strong lead in there. And when I looked at the team that was part of the Insights Alliance from the other companies, also from Zappi, I basically said, okay, I also want to be part of that team. So from day one, I talked my way into the Insights Alliance at Colgate, and I was really impressed with how systematic and strategic, in particular, PepsiCo approached the insights transformation under the leadership of Stefan. Because I remember we have been looking in different ways how to validate, how to research early ideas, concepts, and so on, thinking about maybe a different partnership than our long-standing partnership with another big company. And I thought I looked at it basically everything. And then when I talked to Kate and team and Stefan, and they showed me, I think they looked at about 80 different methodologies. I thought I didn't even know that there are 80 different methodologies around. And they started already creating kind of the best of version with it. And until today, I mean, whenever I have a problem or an idea related to insights, or just want to have a second opinion, my first reaction is really to contact Kate. And she's almost on speed dial and always have a valuable opinion or to add, and she's always great conversations. And last but not least, I mean, Steve, if any of you want to talk about the long-term future of insights, the industry, market research, I mean, look no further. I really love chatting with Steve, as he always has visionary perspectives on almost everything. And in particular now with AI, and I think, Steve, you already mentioned it in the kind of your last kind of input. Steve knows a lot about AI, has interesting ideas what to do with AI, in particular for our industries. The one thing and one advice I have to give you is you have to be aware when you're partnering with Steve, you're not always heading the right direction from the start. Because I remember, I think it was a bit more than a year ago, we were at IIX at Amsterdam, We both had to get to the train station, a short walk, and we both had a kind of a flight to catch. And while we were basically talking about the next big thing of insights and so on, we just got onto the train because there are not that many trains. I mean, they all go basically in the same direction. But at some point, we just thought, okay, I think we are not on the right track. And we ended up somewhere in the Dutch countryside. Nevertheless, and that's, I think, summing up also the relationship with Steve is, when you join him on a journey, you might have to take a small detour, but also during that kind of journey to the airport, we arrived just in time and everything was perfect. So we always arrive where you always arrive where you want to be, and you always arrive in time. So when I heard that these four are joining forces and basically delivering a book together, I was pretty sure that this will be a giant leap for insights and maybe even for mankind, who will see.
Authors, I'm going to give you a chance if you want to respond or chat with Christian. Thank you so much for being here to support the authors.
Christian, thank you very much.
You go, Ryan.
No, I just want to say thank you. Your words mean a lot. They really do. You're an incredible friend and partner to all of us in this whole industry. So thanks for doing this, and a little chuff this morning here from you.
Yeah, and I promise not to get the wrong train again. I was convinced I knew what I was doing, but clearly, as
I mean, it was partly my fault too, because
I definitely take responsibility.
I can assure you that there's not even that much countryside left in the Netherlands, so you really got lucky.
Yeah, sounds good.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Christian. And Vinny shouted out in the chat that obviously Colgate-Palmolive is mentioned in the book as well. So keep your eyes open as you read the book for that. So at this time, we do want to open up for others of you who have joined today's celebration to use the hand raise function in the bottom of your Zoom panel. You know, maybe you have a word of encouragement for the authors, or a funny story about Steve or Ryan or Stefan or Kate's share, or maybe you have a question about the details of the book, or maybe you want to ask Steve about the latest thoughts about AI, whatever it is that you'd like to ask the authors today, this is your chance. So down in the bottom of your Zoom panel, just like you saw Ryan with those hearts flying, and I'm going to make mine fly too. You can use that hand raise function. I'll see that you want to speak, and I'll call on you one at a time to add your thoughts. And as we, oh, I do see a hand raised, but before we go to the person whose hand is raised, I do want to ask a question. I understand that you use the Zappi platform in doing some research around the book cover. I don't know if people can see, I do have the book cover behind me. Could someone speak to, you know, how you used your own platform even to choose the right cover for this book?
Yeah, sure. Natalie, would you like to jump in? I think it's important to note CMOs who are customer centric. So I'd like to celebrate Natalie and her leadership on this. Nat, how did you guys use the platform?
Oh, thank you. Well, first of all, congratulations to all of you. I'm so excited for today. We did actually test with our own platform, and we allowed the consumer's voice to shine. And we let the consumer's voice guide the way on the cover of the book. And I'm so curious to know which cover you all liked the best, because we also tested with UK audiences versus US, and we found that one was more popular with the UK than the US. We chose the one that was most popular globally in the spirit of letting the global consumer voice shine. I happen to like the UK version, or the UK favorite the best, but we went with the US top winner, which was the global winner overall. So, but yeah, we learned a lot in the process. It was a wonderful thing to let the consumer's voice shine and be true to our spirit and our mission.
I've been told multiple times by my wife that I have no eye for design at all, and I should have no input into it. So I was very happy that someone else took control.
Well, probably the people on the call haven't seen the other covers, right?
We'll share them on LinkedIn. I do want to give a huge shout out to our designers, Emma and Leo, and our creative team for designing the cover concepts. I think they did a wonderful job. So huge shout out to them.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Natalie. I love the way that you put your own platform to work to be able to position the book effectively for your readers. So I saw some hands raised and then they disappeared. I want to invite you again if you'd like to speak to the authors. If you have a question, I'd be happy to call on you. And yes, welcome.
Hi, I'm Rukshana from McKinsey. This is the first time I'm actually seeing most of the authors. I've seen Stefan before, and Ryan and I are just sort of getting to know each other. What's the future of insights as an industry and as a community for the authors? What are you guys seeing 5 years out, 10 years out?
Can I start? I'm sure all of us have some. Let me start from the perspective of the, let's say, of the marketer, right? So in our case, PepsiCo. I think the future of that industry starts with the fact that companies can no longer afford to outsource their consumer centricity. Companies can no longer afford to outsource gathering data about what drives consumer behavior, right? In the past, most, let's say, consumer intelligence was literally, outsourced to other big companies that would come to you with snazzy PowerPoint slides, and then would disappear, right? And if you then would want to dig deeper, or you would want to do meta study across studies, you would have to rely on those people again. And I think it was Steve who alluded to that earlier. The data is really, having the data at your own fingertips is simply crucial to be able to build a sustainable competitive advantage around operating, working in consumer-centric ways, which in today's marketplace is simply essential because things are going too fast. You have to work in iterative ways, and you can't do that without the data at your own fingertips.
Yeah, I'll add a little bit to that. I think I completely agree. And the way technology is moving, particularly with AI, for the first time, I think it's a technology revolution. It's one that really is advantageous to large companies because large companies have data. And actually, previous technology ways tend to be much better for small companies who want to iterate and are much more typically agile. But in a world where data is so powerful, which I think it is in a world of AI, if you can manage, harness, utilize that data effectively, it becomes a huge competitive advantage. Now, so some lip service has been paid over the years by large organizations to being consumer-centric, but none of them would put consumer insight at the heart of their decision-making. It was a part of the decision-making, but it wasn't the heart of it. Whereas I think now we have the opportunity for that to be at the heart of the decision-making, and it can be completely democratized, accessible to all, and incredibly powerful in a way that it just never has been before. So it's just hugely exciting if you can get the base of it right, if you get the platform and the structure of that data right, it becomes a huge asset.
Yeah, and just to build, I think if you get the data asset and the system right, what does it do for the people? Well, I think for insights people, it means they spend a lot more of their time impacting the strategy, catalyzing the strategy, working with marketing and consultants to say, what are we actually doing here? What are the territories we can take? And for the more technical folks, architecting systems and data to deliver more coherent meta. But I think one of the important things is however a company goes about giving access to consumer data, whether it's as something's being created or in the heart of its digital transformation data ecosystem, making it so Jeff Bezos' quote from many, many years ago, the customers in every room actually happens. I think technology, if we enable it, can do that for us now in a way that wasn't possible 15 years ago.
Yeah, and sorry, just one build from my side. So I think you're hitting on all the right notes, and that people part for me is what's really top of mind, because I think what we're going to see as technology enables synthesis and analysis to be done even faster, but also very confidently potentially wrong, that role of the human and the overlay of the expertise becomes really critical. And so what I'm seeing is, I think, a shift away from a generalist model to more specialized areas. So innovation insights, brand and creative insights, growth, growth navigation or business intelligence type of analytics, like getting more specialized and more focused within those areas in order to really build out those influencing skills, right? Because I think it will become increasingly important to have people within the organization that can not only understand the math and the science behind what we're learning from consumers, but have that skill set to be able to influence the decision making. Because oftentimes what we learn from consumers is tension or an uncomfortable feedback that maybe our baby isn't as pretty as we thought it was, and being the person that has to give that feedback, and then critically, what do we do about it? What have we learned that we're going to take that insight and actually make this asset better for our organization? That takes a skill, and so I think we're seeing that that's going to be a real big focal point. Not only do we continue to build our science muscle and our ability to understand this new technology, but alongside that, how do we create the space and time to build the talent that's going to be able to do that influencing effectively?
I agree with what everybody said, but Kate, love what you've said. And I actually would encourage everybody on this call to take that message of human centricity and human involvement, the expertise that we have as an industry, because I think that there's a lot of the industry that tends to be fearful of AI. And I think we are actually the conduits for better generative AI. And I'd love to see that message being spread throughout the marketing community, because I think we have a very, very important role to play. And we've traditionally been sort of downtrodden in that space. And as I said, love what PepsiCo is doing. Christian, love the fact that Colgate was so involved as well. So kudos to you guys all around. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to call on Babita next.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations, first of all, to Ryan, Stefan, Kate, and Steve for this book. It's a beautiful thing to have our journey together in this lovely narrative. So what I've really loved about our partnership is when we run into problems, we come together to solve them. And we've had major ups and downs, and we're always at the table wanting the best outcome. I guess looking back on our journey now and learning everything that we know today, what was one thing that you could call out as being the most unexpected learning, right? You think you know where you're going, but then if you're it's like what you're saying, Steve, you end up in a completely different direction to where you thought you were going to be. What is that one thing that you would all call out that actually I didn't think this would happen, and we would have this outcome?
I didn't think we'd write a book. And I think actually that partly the reason that we wrote it or thought it was a good story was because so much changed. The vision that we had to begin with the partnership is not where we are. We have been agile. We have changed, and there've been ups and downs along the way, and I think that to me was both surprising, but also just a testament to the great partnership we've had. So thank you both, Kate and Stefan, for guiding us through that.
I think we've had so many unexpected twists and turns. One that I remember really very well is that I think this was a few days after we officially went live with our first tool on the platform in PepsiCo all over the world. And Kate and I were celebrating that we were very happy about this. And all our internal stakeholders, all the teams in PepsiCo all over the world had committed to the tools and to the new ways of working. And then 2 or 3 days later, I get a call from Ryan. He's saying, like, guys, or Stefan, he says, you guys are driving us completely crazy, because turns out every time somebody in PepsiCo was doing a study, a whole new PO order thing, and it's like a whole administrative thing needed to be created. And as a result of that, the entire Zappi team was doing nothing but create purchase orders. And what Kate and I had never realized is that if you work with the usual suspects, market research vendors, the big companies out there, they just bend over and just do that right behind the scenes. They'll charge you for it, but they've got armies of people doing all that admin stuff. And I never realized that. So we had to very quickly find a way to dramatically simplify the ways of working inside PepsiCo. So we could just go to, let's say, one purchase order instead of like thousands. And it's in a way a boring kind of side effect or a boring dimension of the whole change. But these are the kind of things you run into if you drive change in a big company. And it's super powerful to be working with in this case with Zappi, which is of course a company of a very different culture and scale. And so, very grateful with, in this case, Ryan just calling it out so we could change for the better. Because at the end of the day, nobody is super interested in going through all that admin misery.
Yeah, I remember that moment. And it enabled us to actually focus on what was important, right? That's not where we should be focusing our time.
I'd love to share a personal reflection on this question. So I think I started off in this original role very naive. Like I didn't anticipate how hard it was going to be. So I think that's the thing that surprised me the most, was just that I thought rationally, like, of course, people are going to want to adopt a new way of working that's going to get them insight faster. Like they can kind of don't have a middleman, like they can be right there at the table with their partners and can influence the decision making. And certainly everyone will want that, right? And particularly around ad testing, like we had all recognized collectively across a very large group of stakeholders, all the kind of problems to solve in terms of what wasn't working in the old world. And yet when we started to roll out the new approach, there was so much resistance to change. And so I got like a crash course very early in this role of how to drive change management, and that like the kind of emotional human side of the experience is so much more important than their kind of rational, why should I want to adopt this new thing? So I've learned a lot from that, and I kind of consider myself a bit of a reluctant entrepreneur, and that I joined this journey very much as the person with the kind of deep subject matter expertise. And so we're like kind of a nerd around methodology and how can we create the underlying survey and the math and all of that to work better for us. And but what I've learned over the years, and what's really been an amazing experience on a personal journey, is just how much more resiliency and agility I've gained from working with a tech startup. There's so many problems that we wouldn't have ever anticipated, and what I've gained is so much confidence. Like I don't really have fear now when it comes to things like a big change management. So Ryan mentioned that we're working on kind of our next iteration of our evolution on our tool, and my team, we're all very nervous. This is going to be a big change. How are we going to get through it? And I'm very confident. Like we've done it before, and it was harder the first time you do something than the third time, right? So that's really what I've learned from this experience.
Yeah, and I'll go last. I mean, I think it's probably worth commenting on the backstory here. So before we created ADA, before we created the Insights Alliance, Stefan and I met in his office in Purchase, and we were at a time where we were in dire need of pivoting our business. The first iteration of Zappi was essentially taking old agencies' methods and selling it via an app store. And what we kept hearing from people was we want tomorrow's thinking and we want it delivered better. And I remember meeting Stefan and calling Steve from the parking lot going, holy shit, this new guy at Pepsi has the same vision as us. And because you have a shared vision, you can do amazing things. So I'm not surprised that we're here telling you a story of great success. But I think the comments Kate made about change management are definitely where we maybe underestimated. And what Pepsi has, which I think a lot of other businesses might say they have in their earnings reports, is an actual customer-centric CEO and COO who actually hold the space for this. And I think that really made a big difference because it gave us the space to fail, which we did many times along the way. And I think, these two, Stefan and Kate, bet their careers at PepsiCo on ADA, and we bet our company on it. And that shared vision united us on the darkest of days. And we were able to have those hard conversations. And so I encourage all of you in your business partnerships to establish mutually agreed goals and clear contracts, because it guides you when the waters get tough.
Great. We do have a couple more people who are waiting to speak, so I'm going to call on Mary next.
There we go. Congratulations to all of you. I am so excited to get my signed copy. And I just want to say that I want to celebrate you guys just as writers. You guys are now published authors, and that is so exciting, beyond what you guys are doing for this industry. And to know that you guys had the discipline to see this through while also achieving all the incredible things at Pepsi and Zappi is really inspiring. But I kind of want to celebrate and learn a little bit more about your writing process, and just would be curious to know what was the easiest, topic or anecdote, customer story example that you were immediately like, I can go and put pen to paper right away. The words just kind of flow through your fingers. And then what was maybe something that was a bit more challenging that you might have pushed off until that day before the due date for the editor?
I will tell one story. So I unfortunately was project managing, and if anyone knows me, project management is not necessarily my finest skill set. And I had Ryan and Stefan over in London, and we had a 3-hour workshop on trying to get as much of the book agreed as possible. So we had an early draft, and I wanted to go through them and say specifically, okay, does this bit work? Does this bit work? How can I change this? How can I update this? And after 2.5 hours, we were still on page 1. And it was genuinely the most painful process I have ever been through, I think. The good thing, the thing that was really interesting about it is that the book changed as we progressed. And we all came from, because of that, because what I said earlier, we came from different angles. We had different perspectives on what had happened. Not that we disagreed, but we had things that we were very specifically tasked with in the process of the story. That it was really, I learned a lot just by listening to whether it was Kate's perspective on things, or Stefan or Ryan, and you were learning as in the process of writing the book, which was probably the most exciting thing for me.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think what was interesting is we have 4 different voices with 4 really unique perspectives. And that was also challenging because you agree to an outline, and each chapter you're having to read for like macro substance. Does this make sense? And then each word you have to say, is that authentic? Is that something we would actually say? And there's obviously some give and take because the 4 of us, we all have a lot in common, but we're all very different people, right? So like trying to harmonize the macro story and the micro authenticity, I think was, for me, the most challenging part of the project. Just since I have off mute, the most fun part of the project, besides watching Steve try to project manage Stefan and I, who were acting like children for an entire day, was seeing it come to life, like starting to see, like I remember handing my mother a copy of it. It was one of the coolest moments I've ever had, like just to see something that you put a lot of love into come to life.
This, for me, I think, building on something I said earlier, or we, all of us talked about, I think there's no shortage of business books out there in the world, right? So to be entirely honest, in the beginning, I was a bit of a reluctant about it. Even though I thought originally it was a great idea to write this book, I was also like, is the world waiting for another business book? But then I realized when we were going through the process of getting this story written up and together, that there's really not a lot of let's say stories like this out there that are truly told from both perspectives. So from inside the company and working with, and supporting a company. So really, and it's like and so these perspectives, actually 4 perspectives, because you've got 4 authors, but you also have the Zappi and the PepsiCo perspective, and is, I think, super powerful, and it really contributes a lot to the fact that this is just, at the end of the day, this is no novel. This is a very practical playbook. I think this is just really, as I said before, I wish I had this 7 years ago when I started this job. That would have been awesome. My life would have been a lot easier. Arguably also a little less interesting, but that doesn't matter much in business. And so it's like so I really I really cherish the experience for that. And so just from putting the story together with this group, expertly project management by the great Stephen Phillips, is in and of itself been really insightful for me.
Kate, do you want to add anything on this question? We do have one more person who'd like to speak.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think they've summarized well. I think for me, the challenge is just how do you find that balance of having it be interesting, compelling, brings enough like tension that there's actually a story that captivates you as a reader, but also is practical, as Stefan said, right? So because like we wanted to make it useful and to be as authentic as possible, right? To kind of, bear witness to some of those bleeding edge experiences that Ryan mentioned earlier. So it's a balance to get all those things right. And so hopefully you guys enjoy the book. That was I kept pushing, like, I want to make it more interesting. Like, can we add more drama? I read a lot. So I think I wanted to bring some of that inspiration into it.
Thanks, Kate. Sinead, I hope I'm saying your name correctly.
Perfectly.
No, really? Oh, good. Okay, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just ask us really quickly because I know we're getting close to time. I guess all of you spend a lot of time in the insights world. You talk to other big organizations, you go to conferences and events and speak to lots of people. One of the things that we've talked about today and that all of this really points to is this kind of appetite for change and desire to embrace change and do things differently. How far as an industry do you think we're getting close to that tipping point where there are more people who want to kind of embrace that change rather than going, it's actually really difficult to do and it's hard to do these things and holding back? Because actually there's a lot of traditionalists in this sector, a lot of people who like doing things the way they're doing and are cozy and comfortable in that world. Do you think we're getting close to a tipping point where more people are embracing that revolution and change, or have we still got quite a journey to go on as a sector?
I do. I think we're way closer than we are. I mean, I still think we have a lot more to go. I mean, when we first started being able to evaluate things quickly, I thought to myself, oh, everybody's just going to learn. This is going to be great. And it became, this is going back 10 years ago, a quick way to validate things that were already decided. I think I got to give credit to the whole industry, the big players, the incumbents. They've all built technology to enable them to be more agile. Obviously, we've been leading in our specific space. And I mean, at this exact moment, there's dozens of companies that are on this journey, whether they're calling Stefan, Kate, myself, Steve to get advice. There's change coming. I think, obviously, this is an intellectual industry. So software isn't exactly running through the center of it. So bringing the balance of human centricity and technical capability is quite hard. And also, people's jobs are changing. It wasn't 15 years ago that the average insights manager was essentially a procurement person who was putting a little bit of spin on a report Kate wrote for them when she worked at Macy's, right? So there's a big people change and upskilling, but I'm personally very optimistic about it. And I think, as Steve said a few minutes ago, with what AI can do, it gives us an amazing opportunity to put culture in the matrix. And I think there's an imperative to do that. It's not even a nice to have.
Anyone?
Yeah, I would add to. I think, look, you've got some great change makers in the room, right? Christian at Colgate's done an amazing job. Obviously, these guys from Pepsi have been leading the charge, but you've also Jennifer at Pernod as an example. Some of the other people that we're seeing, and I think you have leaders in the industry who are genuinely trying to lead. Right? It's not just, oh, marketing say go and digitize, they go off and digitize. They actually want to take the lead themselves. And I think that's really exciting for the industry. I think you've got, not all, but quite a few leaders across the business, across the industry who are genuinely seeing that consumer insight can become a competitive advantage. In order for that to happen, they need to change the way they're working, and they're prepared to make those steps to do it. So I think it's a very exciting time.
Yeah, let's not forget that this is an inherently conservative industry, right? So let's not forget that there's a ton of people, also people that I've talked to over the last years, that would love to change, but they don't dare to, because as Americans like to say, the buck stops with them, right? And so they feel very exposed, and this kind of change is, it's scary. So I hope this helps a bit with giving people the confidence that, it's possible. There are people out there that do that.
Thank you. We are going to have some parting thoughts from each of the authors in just a moment, but we do want to remind you of the most important ways that you can help us spread the word about the Consumer Insights Revolution. First off, as a reminder, the best way you can help to spread this book is to buy the book today, even if you already have a copy, to share it with a colleague or friend who might benefit from its content. And for those of you who may not be able to live in a place where Amazon ships easily, the Kindle is only 99 cents around the world today. So we encourage you to get the Kindle. Natalie already told us in the chat that the Kindle is ranking. I'm not sure which country, but in the category of strategy and competition. So if you could take a moment before you leave this call today and purchase the book, we would appreciate your support with that. Of course, we'd love to see your honest review on Amazon, on Goodreads. And we'd love to see you celebrate with us on LinkedIn and other social channels. And we've made it easy for you to do that by providing some graphics that you can download to share, but also photos of the book are welcome. We'd love to see this cover plastered across LinkedIn throughout the week and throughout the coming weeks and months as you share the insights that you're gaining from this important book. So as we wrap up this celebration of 4 authors, an amazing story, amazing insights about cutting edge technology and human insights, Kate, what are your thoughts as we wrap up our celebration?
I just want to say thank you to everyone who's joined, and then to all of you for supporting this book launch and getting value out of this story. It means a lot. So I feel very humbled and proud to be representing this story.
Steve.
Yeah, just following up on both that and what Ryan said earlier, that this is a book with 4 authors, but really it's probably got 400. And it's the people at Zappi and Pepsi who strove to design great technology, to build it, to implement it, but then to get people on board with using it. So shout out to everyone there. Thank you.
Stefan.
Yeah, guys, I'm super excited. Frankly, more excited than I thought up front about this. And but that's just me, I guess. So I'm super excited. Want to thank everybody who's helping with this, particularly also everybody within PepsiCo who's given us the tough love that we needed to really make this awesome.
Ryan.
So when I found out I was doing a webinar at 5 a.m. and then flying to Newark, I wasn't immediately pleased. And as somebody who likes to drive change, I don't oftentimes take time to smell the roses. But this is pretty cool. This is amazing to just be able to share this morning with all of you. My wife's sitting right next to me. We're going to fly to New York City and celebrate with so many partners and friends and colleagues. So I just want to say thank you. I'm honestly just honored to be here. This is so cool. This is an amazing moment. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to all who have joined. And this is really the beginning of the book and its impact over months and years to come. And so we'll all be glad that we were able to share this space with you. And I wish you all great success from here and great fun in celebrating in New York over the next few days for all the important events that you have in person. Thanks again to all who have chosen to join online, and we'll look for you around LinkedIn with the book cover. So congratulations all.